Thermodynamic derivation of the Stefan-Boltzmann law. In this video we deal with the derivation of the Stefan-Boltzmann law from the laws of thermodynamics. In order to be able to do this, fundamental relationships must first be clarified. So let's get started. Relationship between energy density and pressure for gas molecules. The kinetic theory of gases provides an important relationship between the pressure P of a gas and the speed v of the molecules contained in it. In this formula, n denotes the number of gas molecules in a volume v, and m refers to the mass of one single gas molecule. The speed refers to the so-called root mean square speed. In another video we will derive this formula in detail. In a classical view of ideal gases, in which the particle speeds are far below the speed of light, the mean kinetic energy of the particles can be described in very good approximation with 1/2 mv squared. Note that this formula only applies to non-relativistic mechanics. We now want to express the pressure in the given formula not by the speed of a particle, but by its kinetic energy. For this purpose, we simply extend the formula by the factor 2. The expression marked in red now corresponds to the mean kinetic energy of a gas particle. In this formula, we can interpret the product of the mean kinetic energy of a particle and the number of particles as the total kinetic energy of the gas. For ideal gases, this also corresponds to the internal energy U of the gas, since this is the only form of energy present at an atomic level. This formula can now be further interpreted. So the ratio of internal energy and volume corresponds to the energy density of the gas. The energy density is the internal energy of a gas per unit volume. To avoid misunderstandings with the specific internal energy U as a mass-related quantity, the letter V is added in the index. So we see that the pressure of an ideal gas is directly related to the energy density. Due to the fact that classical mechanics was used for the derivation under the assumption of the validity of 1/2 mv squared for the kinetic energy, the obtained relationship between pressure and energy density applies only to classical ideal gases. Relationship between energy density and pressure for photons. Due to the wave-particle duality, electromagnetic radiation can also be imagined as a beam of photons. In this way, the radiation of a blackbody can now be described mathematically. In the video on blackbody radiation, the realization of such a blackbody has already been explained in detail. For this purpose, a small hole is drilled into an object leading into a cavity. All incident radiation is absorbed by the cavity, which also emits radiation itself. In thermal equilibrium, the emitted and absorbed radiation energy is the same, so that in principle a gas of photons is formed in the cavity. Instead of massive particles, in this case we are dealing with massless, relativistic photons. Here too, one can detect a pressure in the cavity due to the moving photons. This pressure is also called radiation pressure. Equation 1 can now also be used, it only has to be interpreted against the background of theory of relativity. For photons, the speed of the particles corresponds to the speed of light c, and the particle mass m must be considered as the relativistic mass. At this point it is not necessary to differentiate between the mean value of the speed squares and the speed square itself, since in this case there is no classical speed distribution, but all photons are traveling with the same speed of light. Both values are therefore identical. Note that although photons do not have a rest mass, they do have a relativistic mass. So Einstein showed with his famous equation on energy mass equivalence that every particle carrying energy can be assigned a corresponding relativistic mass. According to Einstein's equation, the product of relativistic mass and square of the speed of light contained in equation 3 just corresponds to the energy of a photon. Furthermore, we can again interpret the product of photon energy and number of photons as the internal energy of the photon gas. Again, the ratio of internal energy and volume can be understood as volumetric energy density. Thus, the given relation between the radiation pressure of the photon gas and its energy density applies. The relationship between pressure and energy density of a classical gas thus differs by a factor of 2 from that of a relativistic photon gas. In fact, we can derive this formula also directly from the radiation pressure. So the following relationship between radiation pressure and energy density applies for a directed beam of photons with complete reflection. We will derive this formula in detail in another video. In contrast to a directed photon beam, the photons in a photon gas move totally randomly in all three spatial directions. Thus, on statistical average, 1/6 of the photons move upwards, 1/6 downwards, 1/6 to the left, 1/6 to the right, 1/6 backwards, and 1/6 forwards. Therefore, only 1 out of 6 photons hits an arbitrarily directed boundary surface and causes a corresponding pressure. Thus, for the same photon density and thus energy density, the radiation pressure of a photon gas is 1/6 lower than that of a directed photon beam. So we see that in this way we get the same relationship between the radiation pressure and the energy density of a photon gas. One could now argue that cavity radiation is not based on a complete reflection, and thus equation 1 is not valid at all. Rather, a blackbody or a cavity radiation is a complete absorption of the radiation. This is correct, but in thermal equilibrium exactly the same number of photons are absorbed as emitted. However, from a kinematic point of view, a reflection can be considered as absorption with subsequent emission of photons. Only because in cavity radiation absorption and emission of a photon do not occur at the same time and place, they are nevertheless basically identical with reflection, where both processes take place immediately one after the other. Equation 1 therefore remains valid in thermodynamic equilibrium even in the case of cavity radiation. Relationship between a change in volume and the change in photon gas energy. We have just derived the first important relationship between the radiation pressure and the energy density. We will need it later on. Furthermore, we also need the relationship between a change in volume and the resulting change in internal energy, which corresponds to the photon gas energy. For this purpose, let's take a closer look at the determination of the internal energy. The internal energy U, contained in a volume V, can be determined relatively easily from the product of the energy density and the volume. However, as the experimental study of blackbody radiation has already shown, the energy of the emitted radiation depends only on the temperature. The energy density is therefore only a function of the temperature. Overall, then, internal energy is both a function of temperature and a function of volume. At constant temperature and thus constant energy density, an increase of the cavity volume results in a corresponding increase of photon gas energy. We obtain the detailed relationship by calculating the derivative of the internal energy with respect to the volume at constant temperature. As already mentioned, when calculating the partial derivative with respect to the volume, the energy density is to be considered as a constant, since it does not depend on the volume. Thus, the partial derivative of the photon gas energy with respect to the volume at constant temperature just corresponds to the energy density. We can also prove this mathematically. To do this, we must use the product rule, and we then obtain the given expression. First, let's interpret the term marked in red a little bit closer. It can be seen that the partial derivative of the energy density with respect to the volume equals to 0, since the energy density is not a function of the volume. With respect to the variable V, this is to be considered as a constant. Let us now turn to the term marked in blue. This term is obviously 1. So we see that the partial derivative of the internal energy with respect to the volume just corresponds to the energy density, as long as the temperature remains constant. Note that the derived relationship just states that at constant temperature an increase of the volume results in an increase of the internal energy to the same extent, since the energy density remains constant. The fact that the photon gas energy increases at a constant energy density to the same extent as the volume also becomes clear, because a constant energy density also means a constant photon density. If one increases the volume of the cavity, then with constant photon density there are now more photons in it. The cavity then emits more photons until the thermal equilibrium is restored. Since each photon is associated with a certain energy, the total energy contained in the volume has also increased. First law of thermodynamics. We have now found another important relationship that describes the relationship between a change in volume and the resulting change in photon gas energy. Since the photon gas is considered analogous to a classical ideal gas, the first law of thermodynamics can also be applied. In differential form, the first law of thermodynamics is represented as shown. In this equation, S denotes the entropy, or ds the infinitesimal change in entropy. If this equation is divided by dV, the shown relationship results at constant temperature. Without going deeper into the derivation of the so-called Maxwell relations of thermodynamics, these provide another important relationship at this point. A change in entropy and a change in volume at constant temperature are in the same relationship as a change in pressure and a change in temperature at constant volume. Mathematically, this is expressed as shown. This Maxwell relation can now be used in the previously obtained equation too. Furthermore, the term marked in blue can now be replaced by the energy density. Moreover, the pressure P just corresponds to 1/3 of the energy density, so that we can use this relationship in equation 4. We can now multiply the obtained equation 5 by the factor 3 and finally obtain equation 6. We will now take a closer look at this equation 6. Since the energy density is only a function of temperature, the partial derivative with respect to the temperature can be expressed as an ordinary derivative. After separation of variables, also called Fourier method, we obtain the shown relationship in equation 9. Both sides of the equation can now be integrated, whereby constants of integration must be taken into account when calculating the primitive function, which are summarized in a constant denoted by the letter A. After solving the integrals, we finally get the given relationship between the energy density and the temperature. We can express the obtained equation 11 much simpler by using the law of exponents. In this way, we finally obtain equation 15. Pause the video to comprehend the derivation of this equation in detail. Note that the constant term, e to the power of a, has been defined as a new constant b. The energy density is thus proportional to the fourth power of the absolute temperature. A volume V filled with photons, for example the volume of the previously considered cavity, or the emitted photon volume of a blackbody, thus contains the following total internal energy U. The constant B could now be determined experimentally. Usually, however, it is not the energy of a photon gas that is of interest, but the radiant power with which the body emits the photons. We will deal with this in the following. Radiant power. In the following, a blackbody with a surface area A is considered, which is in thermodynamic equilibrium at a given temperature. This black body emits photons that move away from the surface at the speed of light c. In the case of a hollow body, first into the cavity, and then through the hole into the environment, or as in the case of a solid body directly into the environment. Within the infinitesimal time delta t, these photons cover a certain distance delta s. Since the photons are emitted from the surface area A, they occupy a certain shell volume around the blackbody within the time delta t. Due to the infinitesimal distance, the volume delta V of this emitted photon shell results from the product of base area A and height delta s. Putting equation 1 into equation 2, we get equation 3. At a given temperature T, the photon gas energy delta U, contained in the emitted volume delta V, is given by the previously derived formula, which is shown in the upper right-hand corner. At this point we can use for the volume delta V, equation 3, and we get equation 5. Thus, within the time delta T, the blackbody radiates the energy delta U. From this, the radiant power phi can be determined as the emitted radiant energy per unit time. In equation 6, the time interval delta t can now be eliminated, and we finally get equation 7. In this equation, the constant b, and the also constant speed of light c, can be combined to a new constant, the so-called Stefan-Boltzmann constant sigma. Thus the radiant power of a black body in thermodynamic equilibrium at a given temperature results from the shown formula. If the radiant power is related to the surface area of the blackbody, then the so-called intensity of the radiating blackbody is obtained. Consequently, the radiation intensity of a blackbody increases with the fourth power of the temperature. This law was experimentally derived by the physicist Joseph Stefan, and later mathematically derived by Ludwig Boltzmann. This law is therefore called the Stefan-Boltzmann Law. The Stefan-Boltzmann constant sigma, which was initially determined empirically by experiments, is a fundamental physical constant that could actually only be derived from other fundamental constants by quantum mechanics. In this formula, Kb denotes Boltzmann constant, h the Planck constant, and c the speed of light. We hope you enjoyed the video and found it helpful. Thanks for watching.